Hello, welcome to converting the Spring PetClinic REST application to the OfficeFloor REST YAML through AI and using the documentation that's available with OfficeFloor to give AI the necessary information to do that conversion. The documentation on OfficeFloor can be found from the website. Just come up to the tutorials, and there you can see the various tutorials that explain how OfficeFloor works and gives AI the necessary information to do the conversion. Now let's get into the actual transformation. So we'll get our prompt going. As you can see, we're going to tell it to look for the OfficeFloor tutorial information and then do the actual conversion, getting rid of the controllers and the controller advices, and move to the OfficeFloor YAML and also the security of OfficeFloor, and reusing Spring security, and then we send it on its way. First thing, of course, it's going to start reading the tutorials to get an understanding of what to do and how OfficeFloor YAML works. And as we work through, you'll see it starting to pull through the various tutorials. And there we go, grabbing the various tutorials, and we'll just sort of skip through those. And now it starts going, yep, now it has an understanding of the code base and how to make it work, and it will now go into understand the code and a few quick questions to answer it. I'm just going to make it do the full change. We're going to add in the extra testing, and we're going to do a full conversion, removing the old Spring controller code. And then we send on its way. It's going to start adding in the POMs. Just going to go through various parts of it. Doing its initial work, understanding how the Spring app works. Now we're doing the conversion of the actual exception handling. We're going to be moving it to the OfficeFloor exception handling through the YAML function. Now we're going to start converting the first round of functions, which are the owner functions. And then we see we're going with the list owner function now. And we'll slowly be building out the various other functions as we go through, and these are all very, very mechanical in nature. Once you start getting into it, you realize there are actually only certain types of things you do and certain functions, and then you can group them together, and there's a fair whack of reuse between the get, put, post, and delete and various other calls. And there is a respond with something created for the post call. So we'll be going through creating all of those. Apply actually just makes the changes to the actual entity so it can be saved. That's the save owner above it. And we'll just go through creating the rest of those functions. And then we're going through and actually adding the YAML that weaves all those functions together in reuse to achieve the actual outcomes. And you can see there we're going through, and as the file structures match the actual URL structures, it becomes very easy for AI to navigate down into the code base, and we go through creating the rest of it. Now there's a fair few steps. So now that we've done the owner, we'll go through the rest of the endpoints, maybe the pet type especially, all the domain areas, and we'll convert all of those as I told it initially. And you can see above, it's starting to create the necessary YAML as it's going through, wiring in the function injection to achieve that with all the sort of quick functions that actually allow it to happen in very clean, reusable fashion, so you don't have to replicate as much code. And yeah, we'll fast through it, going through all of it. As I say, it's just on repeat. Each of the endpoints is pretty much the same pattern, so we'll just skip through all of those. Now we're getting to the full test run, and you can see now we've actually done the conversion and we've moved through all the steps. And there we go, the migration is now complete, all the concerns are done. We've got all tests passing. We've actually added tests for all the functions because they're much, much easier to test without having to have all the dependencies. And as you can see, these are the things that actually went and actually inverted it to achieve the output. So now we get into the actual looking at the code that's actually been changed. Now, first thing, none of the config, none of the mappers, none of the actual model, nor the repository code is actually changed. That is all the same. All we're doing is actually replacing the controller code, which has a lot of implicit annotations in it, hidden into your code base, which A has to search. In this situation, no, it doesn't. But firstly, having a look at the actual functional code, you can see that we've just got a simple function that takes in the exception and then writes out the actual response. And that's the exception handling code. And then the owner code that we were talking about before allows us to actually build out the owner, takes in the actual DTO request, then outputs the actual owner object to actually map that request into the owner to then be mapped on later to apply. It actually sets the owner into the fields of that DTO and then writes the values in, and then we can actually save the owner, which basically just tells the owner to save the repository, and then we respond back saying, hey, we just created that owner, and various other functions that all get to be nicely reused to make the get, put, post and delete actual functions work cleanly, and a lot of reuse there with those functions. And then we carry on. As you can see, security doesn't change, and then we actually get down to the YAML configurations, and you can see that we actually just map the YAML in the exceptions by the file name, so it's very easy for AI to find, and it can just map it to the actual class that handles it. And then the key part of it is the index, the contextual index into the code of all your endpoints. So AI can quickly read into the file and say, here's where I find the post for the visits by the pet ID, and here are the steps laid out. We build the owners, we save it, and we respond with created. And we can go through more and more of those actual changes. And you can see as you go through, they all have their bits and pieces to stepwise through that, and it's very clear, very simple steps. AI can very quickly go in and actually see what's going on, and that's across all of it, and there is no having to search the whole code base. It indexes right into the actual functions, and their functions are very simple for it to actually work with, making it very easy for it to surgically go and change your code. And then we come through to the tests. Now, tests are just the same as you can go through, and you can see that they all kind of nicely black box test the endpoints, and it does what it needs to achieve. And if you want to go further, you can actually go and test the actual functions individually, because they are just very, very simple. So things such as the build owner test creates the DTO, maps it through and sees that we get the owner coming out, and the save literally says, hey, did we actually save it, and respond with owner created, comes back and says we actually verified that we responded with it actually created. So you can see here it actually made it, turned it, and actually responded with it. So as you can see, that pretty much is the code, and it's actually much more cleaner, easier for AI to navigate and surgically change. And to see the changes yourself, there is a clone of the Spring PetClinic REST application here with the pull request detailing all the changes, including the actual prompt that made the change, and of course the removal of the controller devices and the controllers themselves, replacing with the actual functions to handle the necessary functionality. You can see how repeatable they are, along with, as we go down here, the actual YAML configurations to make the change. Thank you for the time and viewing this presentation.